So do we have everybody? Wendy, Nancy, Wayne, 1, 2,
Just George.
4 of us. 5.
Yeah.
Let's hear
The list is there. But not there.
George.
Patience.
George and oh, there's James. Okay.
Yep.
Jason, are we good to go? Lane's
Yes, we're
not.
good to go.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
live on YouTube. Yep.
Okay. We'll call the McKenzie School District Board of Directors meeting together at 6:31 for the meeting. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
I
allegiance
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
To the republic,
republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
With liberty.
liberty and justice for all.
That sounds very odd.
Very harmonious.
Yeah.
Okay, consent agenda. Do I hear any motions?
I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of passing the consent agenda? All in
Aye.
favor? Aye.
Aye.
And George just joined us. Okay, reports and discussion. Lane.
Okay. Let's see if I can find the right tab here. All right. So just kind of distance learning continues in our classrooms in the district, and that will continue through the end of the regular school year. I think new assignments will be held up there kind of before that last week to let kids and student and staff get everything all wrapped up that way. Food deliveries will end through the last scheduled week as well. I think June 11th will be the last day, and on that delivery we'll complete the week. But all of our students are eligible for the pandemic economic but PEBT. So it's pretty much because of the pandemic, students that have free or reduced lunches get the supplementary nutritional aid program. So it'll be kind of nice. Families and students will get food stamps back to March, or SNAP benefits is what it's called now, be backdated to March. So that'll help feed kids as our food services kind of shut down for the summer. Oregon Health Authority and the Department of Ed are collaborating, and they're getting close on providing guidance looking ahead for the fall reopening. So as soon as I get that and dig into that, I'll push out some info and report out. But of course, it's going to be classrooms are going to look a lot different. They really want us to be thinking about in-person opening in the fall, but with things like social distancing and how do you give kids 6 feet of space in a classroom. So we'll have classes hopefully, but it'll look a lot different than we've come to know until there's a treatment or vaccine or some sort to help keep everybody safe. The state revenue forecast was released today, and we discussed that a little bit earlier. So overall revenue for the 2019-2021 biennium have decreased by $2.164 billion since the March forecast. So that's not as bad as what the governor was thinking. So instead of it being that 17% reduction in budgets that she asked state agencies to perform, it's going to look closer to an 8% reduction for the biennium, which will all have to come out of, so it's a 4% reduction for across the biennium, but that'll all have to come out of this year. So it'll actually be probably closer to an 8% reduction. So then it looks like a $300 million shortfall for the state school fund. There is funding available in 2 reserve funds. So it just depends on how motivated the legislature will be to use the Education Stability Fund or the Rainy Day Fund to get us up to that $9 billion target that we've established as the kind of the target in the state. Also, there's a couple other kind of things that we're not quite able to nail down. So like lottery proceeds are down because, like video poker, people haven't been able to play because all those machines have been locked up in establishments that are closed. So we don't know how that's going to affect the state school fund because it would take an act of the legislature to reduce the amount of money that gets put into the state school fund from the lottery. So that's kind of a moving target. The CAT tax is going to be about $400 million shy of what the projections were. So we'll see how that affects the SIA funding. So kind of, put it in perspective, right now, 14.2% of the state's unemployed. Looking at it, looks like next year is going to be doable. There's really some concerns about funding for the next biennium because the lost revenue from that 14.2% unemployment, in a number of years can grow to be $10 billion of revenue just sucked out of the state. So hopefully when there is, treatment and things can move forward again, the economy really takes off because it could be troubling the next few years down the road. So let's see. So like I talked to you earlier a little bit about it. I will officially be taking family leave beginning next Monday and hopefully through the end of the fiscal year, June 30th. My wife's maternity leave runs out and she needs to return to work. I will be able to assist as needed, especially on these budget reductions when we get more information from the state what that's going to look like. I'd like to participate in the June board meeting as well. And then I also need to stay along and help guide the facilities process now that we've got that going again. But I feel this is like a good time to step back. The initial transitions to COVID-19 and the distance learning have already kind of occurred. I think we're in a decent place right now. Budgets just was adopted. Would have tried to take some time earlier, but given the circumstances, I needed to be here to help you guys as well. But Brent has already shown he pretty much knows how to drive the car. So you guys are in good hands and he can knows my phone number. He can bug me if things come up. So yeah, that's it for my district report. I'm sure Brent has some more interesting building things to talk about since we're getting close to all the spring festivities.
Thanks, Ryan. Anybody have questions? Brent.
Yeah, hi. How are you guys doing?
Good. How you doing tonight?
Good, thanks. Yeah, so there's a lot going on, and at the same time, it doesn't feel like there's a lot going on because all of the same normal things that we're doing this time of year aren't being done or aren't being done in the same way. So yeah, there's just a lot of continued communication with teachers, obviously, and trying to help them help students and continue to communicate with families and parents, and communicating with a lot of families and parents and students as well. So it's just an ongoing circle of feedback and trying to connect with people and get their thoughts on things and see what we can be doing different to help them help their students with distance learning, and just kind of that circular feedback model that we're working with. So yeah, that's a majority of what we're doing, and then we are trying to get things going for the end of the year. Obviously 12th grade senior graduation, as well as wrapping up some of the promotion pieces for the younger grades and talking to teachers about how we're going to do that, and also communicating with families around that as well. So we have kindergarten, which is typically a promotion year, as well as sixth grade into our middle school, and then eighth grade into high school. And then also talking about those transitions. Typically there's some transition at this time of year where those students get to know, especially from sixth to seventh grade, where they're going from the elementary side of campus over to the middle and high school side. So we're talking about how to do that, and teachers on, well, Mrs. Carlson and Mrs. Adams, as well as the middle high teachers, are talking about ways to do that. And Brent Collier is also organizing a virtual transition for those students. And then we're also working on ways to recognize all of those students. We typically have a lot of assemblies and awards and honors and that sort of thing this type of year. So, or this time of year. So we're trying to, well, we're getting ready to get all of those out. And we're going to be doing that differently depending on the grade. So elementary students are going to do a lot more with their teachers and with us individually. And then for our eighth graders, we're going to be giving all letters.
You're frozen, Brent.
And that's been tough. I mean, it's hard to do all over the state and country right now with all of these restrictions and everything going on, and it's a big deal. It's one of those milestones, and unfortunately, because of all of this with COVID, it makes it really difficult to do the things that they typically want to do. But we put surveys out to students and then parents to get their feedback on options that were permissible by ODE and the powers that be. You know, there was some consensus on one of the options there within the data that we got back. So we're doing kind of I guess, an individual ceremony that's more traditional, that will be recorded and then released on graduation day. So students are going to be coming in next Friday, the 29th, and Saturday, the 30th, and they have half-hour time slots, and we'll be practicing social distancing, and people will be wearing masks and all of that. And students can have up to 10 family members present in the old gym, and then there will also be some teachers there as well. And so it'll be more of an intimate setting. I know some families have asked if they could say a few words to their kid while they're graduating, which I think would be a neat thing that wouldn't get to happen in a different type of setting. So I think that can be a real positive way to make it really personal for families, because obviously they've done the most to get those kids to this point. So yeah, it hasn't, you know, we're doing what we can. Obviously there's some folks who would prefer that we could do something a little bit more robust and together, which we would love to do, but given the circumstances, that's just not a safe thing to do right now.
Hey, Brent.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is George.
Hi, George.
Yeah, my family was just a little bit confused about the email, and they thought it was still going to be on the 6th of June. And so there were people that were coming in on the closer to the graduation date. And so now they're going to miss the graduation, and the actual party is going to be on the 6th. So they were just really confused about that. And I would just letting you know, just some feedback about how it felt like it was, my family felt like it was like a short notice, and they didn't have time to react to it.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for the feedback, George. We sent that email out last Thursday, I believe. And yeah, I mean, it did say that we were going to be doing the ceremonies on the 29th and 30th. I'm sorry if that was confusing. I did email your wife about that, and we talked back and forth, but I do apologize if there's any confusion. So yeah, anybody else have any questions for what's going on, patients?
Yeah, I have a question. I'm curious if the governor's guidance comes out for phase 2 with different direction on when on the head count of population, would you reconsider the graduation ceremony process and what that looks like?
I guess, I mean, that's something that we could think about. I mean, we're already kind of going down this path and making preparations and whatnot for that. So yeah, I mean, again, it would be another short notice kind of situation, obviously, because do you know when that announcement would be?
They
given?
said on the state call today that the governor's office was hoping to have school guidance out by the end of this week. So again, I wouldn't hold my breath, but if they start talking about what phase 2 could look like and they increase the mass gathering with the understanding that we're doing 6 feet of social distancing and everybody that's there is wearing a face mask, that could potentially meet the needs of our graduation class and their 10-person family that could attend a formal graduation at McKenzie on June 6th, given that there's no second wave, first of all, and the 21-day window for phase 2 would start on June 5th. So June 5th, and then obviously June 6th would be our graduation date. So while I'm not asking you to make any plans, I'm just asking you to think about what that could potentially look like if the governor's guidance does come out and parents get wind of that and then they start asking you, you may just keep that in mind.
I think the guidance that they were talking about, patients, is probably the guidance that they're trying to put together for the fall. Because that's the impression that I got today from the off the record meeting with the director of health authority who was on it. I think they were talking about the fall. I don't see the campuses opening back up even at phase 2.
But I think that was specific for the school year, not necessarily ceremonies and mass gatherings. Or are you thinking that it's campus period?
Yeah, I think it would be, things until we hear otherwise that things are open. I think the interpretation is kind of like where campuses are closed until further notice. I don't even think some districts are struggling with, they're really the community hub even more so than we are, where there's a lot of community events and meetings and things taking place in their buildings because they're it. And right now, we're not even supposed to allow those sorts of things to happen on campus. So it's a tough situation. Graduation's tough. It's a culmination of a lot of work for kids and parents and families, and trying to handle it as best we can, and make kids feel special on their day, which they should, and it's just tough.
I think from just talking with Danielle, I think she's going to appreciate the opportunity to spend the time with the faculty and the staff. I think that's the part that's going to be the win. The win for her is actually being appreciated by the staff that she spent so much time with, so we can make the rest up later. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think on that note too, patients, like I talked about with the opportunity perhaps for parents if they'd like to talk to their kid during that time. I mean, there's also a window where staff can talk a lot more specifically about specific attributes and things of students, which doesn't get to happen in a normal ceremony. So, it will be more personal, and I think, hopefully more meaningful in those ways, even though the rest of the class can't be present with them. But as individuals, they can get recognized by, the folks that have really helped them get there in terms of their academics and parents and all of that sort of thing. So that's positive. But yeah, I mean, you raise a good question, and it's something we can look at if and when that happens. but yeah, we'll see where we're at that point. I do know other districts have already started handing out diplomas and doing that kind of stuff. So I know for them that would be difficult for sure. But yeah, we'll take a look at that if that happens.
Any other questions for Brent?
Yeah, one more question. Will us as board members be able to give our kids their graduation diplomas?
Of course, if you guys would like to give your kids their diplomas, you are more than welcome to do that. Yeah, and that'll be good because then they can actually receive it from somebody instead of pick
Actually
it up off
get
of the table or something. So,
Yeah, handshake and a hug.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You can even
Yeah.
turn their tassel if you want. I think that was the other thing we're stuck on. Is like, who does the tassel? turn?
Yeah, make their parents do it.
Write that
Mhm.
down, Brenna. Yep.
Yeah.
I was going to ask another question, Brent. I'm curious of how the kids' learning is going this quarter for school, even though it's all distance learning. How's it going for you guys, the teachers and the students? Is it working well? Any feedback there?
Sure. I mean, I guess it's all kind of relative. You know, it's not going as well as it would if they were in the buildings. I think as you would expect. I think we, you know, our elementary engagement and participation is pretty high. I think it's up over 80% of regular participation, which is great. That shows that we have a lot of kids who are, you know, ingrained in the routine, but also parents who are supportive and willing to help those kids in that learning. Our middle school is actually the area where we're having a lot of problems getting kids to engage, and we're constantly trying to reach out and call and get them to engage. I think some of it might have to do with, you know, they're kind of in that middle ground where they might not have all of the skills or discipline or whatever it takes to do stuff as independently as perhaps, you know, the people in their households think they should be able to do that. So we see a lot of middle schoolers just, you know, turning in work that's not really done or not engaging. As we get into high school, there's kids that are really doing really well with this and are engaging with their teachers quite a bit and getting a lot of one-on-one kind of instruction. But we also have students that, you know, that are not engaging. And I think that that's kind of the same around the country when you're looking at the data that's coming out. There are a lot of areas, especially areas with low-income populations where there's equity and access issues where, you know, you see that gap. And I think our district, to an extent, kind of embodies the whole spectrum of students, some who, you know, have a lot of support and means and others who don't. And we do see some of that reflected in our data that we're getting back.
I can say from a parent point of view, you guys have done an awesome job, and the staff has done an awesome job preparing videos, able to let the kids chat in a sort of a closed chat place for, you know, because Georgia's really personable, so that's where she misses the social aspect of it. But I also saw a growth in her by taking initiative and wanting to wake up in the morning and actually pretend like she is actually at school, and she has her own little laptop and she can do her own work. And so I've seen her own growth as far as taking initiative, taking pride in her work, and just being a real all the stuff that the teachers have taught them when she was at school to be motivated to do. So I just want to thank you guys for doing such a great job for what you've set up.
Yeah, thanks, George. Yeah, her teacher is doing great, and yeah, a lot of those all of our teachers are putting in a lot of effort and work into this, and it's great to see when the students engage and really get the most out of it. So I'm glad that Georgia's taking advantage of that.
All right. No more questions for Brent? Let's move on to finances. Hi, Wendy. We need your speaker off though. There we go.
Okay, pink sheet, I have a pink sheet. Yours is probably white. Okay, April revenue. We received $478,000 in revenue, and you can see on our state school fund received $246,454 from state school fund. That's 2 months worth. Expenditures, we spent $291,180. And if we turn it over on the back, which is just probably the next page down on your, whatever Nancy sent you. District accounts payable, we spent $149,997. And of that, we spent $85,000 to the Orchid for the mental health program. Payroll, we spent $123,973.74. High school student body, we spent $519.98. And you can see our total revenue for, you guys were asking about the actuals. So through April, the actuals on the far right of that back page is $3,576,490. And at the bottom, you can see the actual expenditures, $2,804,776. But you do need to keep in mind, in June, we do 3 checks for the certified. So it looks like we have a lot of money, but it'll go quickly.
So we, the discussion with Orchid last month, I thought that was starting next year. Is that starting, we're prepaying now or?
Yeah, so it was part of that, the ESSA targeted support money.
Okay,
So we needed to spend it before it left. So that was grant money.
okay,
So then, yeah. So on that, they remember when he spoke to us about they had this candidate that they were really excited about. Yeah, that fell through.
oh,
But they've got but they've got another candidate that is really good. And I think you guys will be really pleased with. And so then they're going to offer, and then when that's all official, I'll pass it on to you. But it's somebody who you might have heard the name in discussions in the past. Somebody that is from the river initially, but I'll tell you more about it. She's pretty excited, and Orion's pretty excited that they're actually able to get somebody in and help serve our kids. So that's a good thing.
Okay, also I wanted to let the board know that in April, even though we had social distancing, I still was required to do my audit, part 1 of my audit. And so everything I sent them was virtual so that, I'm scanning and sending every document they wanted to view. So that was quite the fun.
And if you've ever seen the amount of documents she has in these audits, that's a lot of scanning.
Yeah. Anyway, that's all I have to report unless you guys have any questions.
So clarifying question, and something James asked back at the budget meeting. So
Okay.
the carryover fund from the amounts that you like in there that you've had in the past, that decreased last year, didn't it?
Yes.
And this year, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Generally, the board doesn't like to see anything below 450,000. The reason being is because we need to get ourselves carried from July to November, and you never know what's going to come up between there. So it's a good amount for us to have. Right now, I'm saying 400. That's provided we get all the revenue that we're hoping to get.
Right, and the state, anytime between now and like September, the state could do a cut, right?
Are you talking about the state school fund or my beginning fund? Because the beginning fund is all of our, let's just say, cash that is available to spend starting our new year that we've carried over that we did not spend.
Right, I guess I meant the state school fund, because if that gets cut, correct me if I'm wrong, but if that gets cut by X percent, we may have to dip into that 400 to make up for ends, to have ends meet.
We would probably have to use the 400, but that won't get us very far.
Right, I mean, so,
And
So if you look at the sheet that has the revenue and expenditures, the best way to visualize it I've been able to find is like you look at the bottom of July, August, September, October,
right,
you see all those negative numbers. That's
Right.
how much more that we're spending than we're bringing in. And so
Right.
we need that cushion to be able to cover that until, if you look at the very tip top in November, where it
Right.
jumps for October's 1,000 to November's 1 million, like that's kind of the equilibrium we need to be at. And yeah, so it could cushion a little bit, but I agree with Wendy, it wouldn't get us very far
right.
if we needed
Okay.
to get much into it.
Okay, it's just a worry in the future, correct?
it is a worry and we need to be fiscally responsible. So I guess when July and August hit, that's something that the board and administration will have to think about.
Right, okay. Thank you, Wendy.
Uh-huh.
Questions for Wendy?
I'm curious, I think I asked this earlier and then my phone dropped the call, so I apologize if you answered it, Wendy, during the budget call. The impacts to revenue that we could anticipate from the state of Oregon, is there, are you forecasting what that could potentially look like for us over the course of the next 3 months so that we can kind of stay one step ahead of the game?
Yes, there's this program that they're allowing us to use for free because you put in the change at the state for the state school fund, and then this will calculate what either additional funds we'll get or decreased funds. And so this is helping. I don't know the program very well, but there's a lady that is helping me get through it, and so she's helping me with some calculations, which I forward to Lane, so that in June and July and August, when we find out more, we'll have an idea of what needs to be done. Does that answer your question?
Wait, we'll move on to the McKenzie River Community School. Josh.
Hello, not a whole lot to report. We had a pretty short meeting, as it was our probably our first meeting back since COVID started. Don't recall a whole lot of information, other than we did have a couple fundraisers right before, or one fundraiser right before the shutdown happened. It was the Bigfoot benefit. That did bring in some general dollars for the charter board, which was a good thing. Had a decent showing response. We had bad weather that weekend and the start of the virus, but other than that, it seems like from our end things are going pretty well. We've generated some account balances in there. It sounds like the core has also generated a little bit more income as well. So I think our next meeting is this next month, but it's pretty short and brief. Lane, do you have anything to add? You're on mute, Lane. I must.
I don't know if you can hear.
I don't know if he can hear us either.
You hear us, Lane?
So I was getting accosted by one of my little ones here. So what? Sorry, I missed that.
I just, is there anything, we didn't have a big meeting, very long meeting. It was pretty short, brief, but I don't know if you have anything to add to that other than we kind of talked about the benefit, the Bigfoot benefit stuff, as well as the core. They've generated some additional revenue. We don't have
Yeah,
a
we
vote.
didn't, we hadn't met the prior month, so just kind of catching up and checking in and getting them kind of caught up to what's been going on with distance learning and, you know, and then, yeah, looking at that Bigfoot benefit, how much that generated. And I think we made a little bit of money, definitely broke even, so that's good. But yeah, I think that was most of the high points, Josh.
Thanks. That's all I have.
You're good. Thanks, Josh. And let's see. Oh, Lane, facilities report.
Okay, so I'll try to keep this one real quick too. So heard back from Pace that the water movement issues is the technical term, causing the floor issues in the new gym won't be covered by our insurance, which is probably won't raise everybody else's rates like they did with all the other things. But they were nice enough to cover a pretty thorough engineering report that's kind of provided us a decent framework of what we can do to kind of shore up that building to keep things from further, you know, deteriorating. And it really starts with repairing the roof. The roof Swiss cheese. It shouldn't be. It's only 20 years old. When I asked them about would it be worth our time to get our legal counsel to pursue the contractor and the suppliers, they said no, it's too far out. If it was still within 10 years, probably, but at this point, we're just going to have to figure out how we're going to replace a roof. So I've got Chris working on getting some bids to see how much the roof replacement's going to be. And then also the other thing they said is we need to do some waterproofing around the slab and the walls, the exterior walls, where they're, you know, at grade or a little bit below grade, because the current waterproofing isn't working. So it's going to be a little bit of an expense. It's not a good time to have this kind of thing popped up, but then it's also, we can't let things get too much further down the road. So as we learn more about what that's going to cost, I'll let you know and see. Hopefully, you know, who knows, maybe it's a really straightforward roof or something and it's going to be cheap. I don't know, probably not, but I'll let you know on that. The facilities committee met this week, restarting kind of the stalled long range facility planning process. So we'll be meeting again May 27th on site to talk about seismic rehabilitation grant program and the application that we can put in for the old gym. That's the last kind of piece of work we still need to do with Soderstrom for their work with us. Much of the meeting, the discussion kind of was around, you know, our awesome grant award and if kind of where people felt the community would be about supporting a bond. There's really some mixed kind of feelings about whether the economic downturn would sour voters to be able to back, you know, some additional taxes. Everybody didn't really want to pass on the potential $4 million match. So I think, you know, we'll keep talking and look at it from a bunch of different angles and then pass on whatever knowledge and perspective we are able to glean from that group, and then, you know, make a decision here in August if we want to do something, put something on the ballot or not. But I think it's going to take a little bit more investigation beyond just kind of getting everybody's gut check feeling in that committee. So it's just kind of a punch in the stomach where it's you do this work and then we're there and then it might not be there because we don't know if folks will be able to pay for that. And then the depending on where things are, the folks who had qualified for Awesome for this last election were able to postpone it until the November election because they changed the rule that if there's a current state of emergency going on, you can move the date to the next election. So if we get closer and looks like there'll still be a state of emergency in place, that might be an option to bump it to the next May election. But that's all contingent on where the state is and where the governor's office says things are.
Does it take a vote of the board on whether or not to go on the November ballot?
Yep, that's on you guys. Yep, so all we can do is, provide the information that we're able to get. So
And then you're anticipating we'll be able to vote on that in August at the August board meeting?
yeah, I'll have to look exactly when the deadline is. It might be something we have to talk about in June, or if we want to do a special meeting in August.
Okay.
Or July. We don't usually meet in July, but we did last year. Maybe we do a special meeting to decide that way. If you guys want, if there's a consensus that that's where you'd want to go, we can do that. So yeah, I'll look at what the specific date, the filing deadline is, but I know it's in August to get it on the November ballot, and
Maybe we could put it on the June board meeting just as a discussion item.
Yeah.
Just, when you get the dates, whatnot, and, and just have a conversation about it.
Yeah, I think it wouldn't hurt to do, we're too small to do like typical like polling. So you couldn't get a consultant to do, a sample and then give us the data. They do something called an enumeration, which is a little bit more intensive. So I need to see what's all involved with that. And if we had, put a little bit into getting that data back, we'd know a little bit more about what the folks in our 3 zip codes, how they feel about it. So
Yeah.
that's an idea too that we need to dig into. Because as it is, like if we don't run in November, we would forfeit our spot with Awesome, which is okay. We wouldn't be able to apply for it again for that May election, but we'd be starting over at scratch for that next maybe November
Wow.
2021.
Right.
And it's tough because the way we got it wasn't based on the priority list, based on needs. The way we got it was the folks at Soderstrom submitted it quick as soon as the deadline opened, so we were first in line. So it's kind of, it'd be different if they were like, yeah, your SES level is low enough and your needs high enough that you're at the very tip top of the list. This would be a little bit more iffy if we would even get it the next time we put in for it.
Okay. Questions? Any other questions for Lane? Okay. Moving on. Action item. School calendar.
The calendar. Okay, so there's two drafts. Draft one starts the same time as the other schools in the county will start after September 8th or September 7th holiday. It's a little later in September than we usually do, but that's mostly what most of the other schools are doing. Let's see, so that would get us out that third week in June. Pretty similar formatting as to the previous year with the number of in-service days, half days. November was really problematic. Veterans Day falls right on a Wednesday, and then conferences is the Thursday and Friday. So trying my darndest to eliminate that day, a half day after Veterans Day for conferences to make it more streamlined, but then I couldn't figure out a way to add another contact day. So sorry about that. It's not as clean as I would have liked. Draft 2, we start a little earlier. We come back August 31st. That would get us out that second week of June. Heard back, gave it to certified and classified, heard back from certified. And surprisingly, certified was more in favor of draft 2, starting a little earlier and getting out a little earlier. Personally, I have no strong preference. So it's kind of balls in your court, ladies and gentlemen. If either of those two boil to the top with any advantages or disadvantages for you.
I do have a concern about if we don't align with other schools in the district. I mean, there's a chance that there are families who have kids in our district and maybe another district, and so planning for things like childcare or family vacations, that kind of thing, that can get really tricky.
Yeah,
Unless
make it
there's-
tricky
I mean, is there,
staff.
I guess this would be a whole different draft, or maybe I haven't looked at these drafts compared to what other schools are doing, but if we did the earlier start, which you're saying that's what classified staff is more in favor of?
Yeah, certified.
Certified, sorry. So is there a way to do that, but then also have, no, I guess, I don't know if that would work, have our spring break fall at the same time that other area school districts?
And most of it does, like, you know, spring breaks that last full week of March, which is what it should be.
Okay.
The winter break falls along the same lines as the other. It's just that start end. It would make some hardship for, you know, families and staff that are two districts. But, you know, I have no strong preference either way. I tried to get rid of those hanger on Fridays there, James, again, but I wasn't able to do that. I let you down again, man. Sorry. But yeah,
I mean,
I kind of like the being in the same as the rest of the folks in the county, but that's just me.
well, and I mean, I don't know if it's going to make a difference with the, you know, pandemic, but, you know, would having that extra week buy a little bit more time for us? I don't know.
Wouldn't hurt.
Yeah. Anybody else have any thoughts? I don't know.
Draft one is kind of what everybody in the county's doing. So they're starting a little bit later.
Yeah, they're for some reason Lane County is really into starting right after the holiday, trying not to start before.
Elaine, can I ask you a question real quick on that? I don't have them right in front of me, but did draft 2 make the end of the quarters and or semester a little bit cleaner, not interrupted by spring break, perhaps, like they were this year?
Well, let me share it with you. Yeah, let's see. So that should be coming your way, Brent. So first quarter, let's see. Sorry, I've changed the formatting, so it's a little different. Yeah, spring, like the quarter after spring break, there's a full week after they get back. So it's almost 2 weeks after they get back from spring break before the quarter ends. So that gives a little bit more time. Let's see.
Elaine, make sure I'm tracking here. Draft 1 is the rest of the county, or the rest of the.
Yeah, pretty close to the rest of the schools in our ESD.
Are you looking at it, Brent? Is your question okay or answered? Got it. Okay. Anybody want to entertain a motion on which one of these Hummers to go?
I'll take a stab. I would lobby to go with draft 1, which follows the suit for the rest of the county's school districts to start after the holiday.
Second.
Is that a second, Alyssa?
I'll second.
Okay, so.
Second.
Okay, so Patience moved to pass it, and I think George seconded. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed?
Aye.
So I think that went down as 6 yeses and 1 no. George, I kind of missed yours, George. Was that for the draft 1 or 2?
I agree with the group.
Got it. Okay, so past 7-0. Thank you. Did you get that, Nancy? Yep, got it. Okay, thank you. Okay, thanks, guys. School board comments.
Yes, I just wanted to thank everybody and everything. And next month will be my last board meeting. I'm resigning from my position.
Wow. Sorry to hear that, George. But it's been a pleasure working with you the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just health reasons. I'm not doing really well. So
Yeah, I understand.
thank you guys.
Definitely.
Appreciate it.
George, definitely like our school community and the river is better, has been better for your voice being heard and brought to the table, man. So know that we all really have appreciated working with you, and don't be a stranger, like stay engaged, because we need your voice to be heard when it can be.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Hey, George.
Other board comments?
I'd like to say thank you to George too. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for reaching out to our partners within the community and the state of Oregon and representing the school board when you could. We really appreciate and benefited from your leadership and guidance and some things that we may not have had on our radar as a board. So I just want to thank you very much for all that you've done for us and with us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
With that said, if we have any more
So,
disasters in the state of
can you
Oregon,
guys hear me?
Go ahead, Kent.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, I disconnected and then I got slow, and I don't even know if you heard what I said to George or not, but
You got to repeat it.
okay, great. Yeah, George, I just, hey, been a real pleasure working with you. Just deeply appreciate anyone that, gives this a shot. And thank you so much for your time and your efforts and your sacrifice. We really appreciate that.
Patience,
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Patience, do you have another comment?
Oh, I just wanted to say, if we have any more disasters in Oregon, I might have to step down, but I'm doing my best to stick with you guys to the best of my ability. I had no idea what I got myself into, so I'm going to keep doing the best I can, but I'll definitely raise my hand if necessary.
Good. I just want to thank the board for going through this marathon 3-bout session tonight. And I know it's a long time, but we got a lot done, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Hey, Tim.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone heard, but just our continued thoughts and prayers go out to Lacey Joy. She lost her brother on Sunday, and she's such a fantastic person for us in the district. So really, really tough. Just a young man had a logging accident and went to the hospital. They sent him home, and he never woke up that night. So anyway, our thoughts and prayers go out to Lacey Joy. Yeah.
Good. Thanks, Ken. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I think it's been a rough week for the river.
Oh.
A lot of people in the river this.
Yes, for sure.
Okay. Other comments at all? All right. So our next meeting is June 17th, our regular start time, and I guess a public hearing for the budget. Right, Wendy? Yep, for the budget at 5:15. And with that, does anybody want to move to adjourn?
I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, so
I
Alyssa
second.
moved to adjourn. James seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that's
Aye.
a wrap for May. We will see you guys in June.
Thank you.